Hello guys, welcome to a Sam White video. In today's video I'm going to be showing you how to replace the screen on an iPhone 6s. So as you can see, iPhone 6s here, and the first thing you want to do is start by removing the two screws at the bottom of the phone. Now just take a quick note during this video, it's really important to keep the screws organised so you remember which hole they come from. This is because some screws in this phone are not the same size as other screws, and if you put them back in wrong it can cause damage to the phone. So you want to now switch off your phone, making sure it's completely powered off before you try removing the screen. Next thing, take a suction cup, place this just above the home button. Now this can be quite difficult if the screen is cracked. If it is cracked, I recommend taping over the screen to allow a proper suction with the suction cup. Then you want to pull up on the screen whilst sliding in a pry tool around the screen and work from the home button down, nice and slow, no rush, and this will loosen up the screen for you. Once you've done that, you can remove the suction. Quick side note, you may need to use a bit of heat during this process. This is because Apple do use glue to hold the screen down, so the heat will just loosen up the adhesive that Apple use. So you would want to lift the screen no further than 90 degrees, as there's some ribbon cables down there that are attaching the screen to the phone. You want to remove the two screws you can see here that I'm pointing to. This is to remove the battery cover that covers the connection for the battery. So you remove the two screws, again keeping them in the correct order. Remove the small metal plate that covers the battery connection. And then using a spudger you want to remove or disconnect the battery. Just simply lift up on the small tab that's down there and pull away so there's no connection. Next thing you want to do is to unscrew the four screws that are holding the screen down to the rest of the phone. And once they're removed, you'll then lift the plate up for the the cover for the cables that are hiding the connection for the screen. So as you can see, we lift that little metal cover up there to reveal the Lego clips for the screen connector. And you've got three clips on this phone, three little Lego connections, and you want to just gently lift all three of them up. They're very easy. You can feel if they're connected or not. They kind of click and you'll feel them just pop up. It may take you a couple of tries if this is your first repair, but nice and slow. As you can see, they're the little connections there. Now in this part we're going to be looking at the home button and speaker replacement. So you want to put this onto your new screen. If you don't move the home button across on the iPhone 6s, you will lose the fingerprint sensitivity. It will still work as a button, but you won't be able to log in or unlock the phone using your fingerprint. So it's very important during this part of the repair that you're very careful with the home button. You don't pull it, you don't bend it, you go nice and slow, and you remove it very carefully. If you do want the fingerprint sensitivity but you manage to break the home button during this repair, if you contact Apple they can put you a home button back in. However, they will charge you for a full screen replacement at the same time, so it can be quite expensive. So I recommend being very careful during this part of the process. As you can see, you lift the little Lego connection up there that connects the home button, and then there's some glue that holds that cable down. So very slowly I push the home button from the front to the back. It's just glue that holds it down, and then I very carefully peel away the home button from the rest of the display. If you do get stuck on this part, you can use some heat again, just to loosen up the glue that holds the home button down. But I would definitely recommend you take your time during this part. This is the one part that you really don't want to mess up. So now that the home button's out, we can go ahead and get our new screen. Now during this replacement I won't be replacing the speaker or the front-facing camera because the screen that I purchased came with one, but you may or may not need to swap that across depending on what type of screen you've got. So again, just using the same adhesive that it came with, I push the home button in, connect the little connection to the fingerprint reader, make sure everything's lined up nicely and everything's in place. I'll then take the metal cover that keeps the fingerprint sensor in place, and I'll put this back in place. Now using the screws that I removed, I'll put them back in exactly the same space I got them from. And now the screen is ready to go back onto the rest of the phone. As I said before, depending on the screen you purchase, you may need to swap the front-facing camera and speaker across. Now for this section, all you want to do is just line up the ribbon cables with the holes and gently push them down. This can be a little bit fiddly, can take a couple of times just to get them lined up properly. Again, no rush, take your time. You want to do the screen before you do the battery, so always start with the screen. Next thing you want to do is connect the battery, make sure that's in place, and I always like to close the phone and just test that everything's back in correctly, the screen's working okay, the sensitivity's okay, just to make sure before I close it up that everything's connected properly, because the last thing you want to do is close the phone up to find out you haven't connected one of the blocks properly. As you can see, the screen seems to be working perfect. So what I'll do now is I'll switch the phone off, and we'll lift the phone back up, again not taking it past 90 degrees, and I'll put the protective plates back on to hold all the connections back in place. Really important thing to remember, like I've said a couple of times already, make sure you keep the screws in the same order you remove them from the phone. This is very, very important. As you're doing this, you'll notice that a lot of the screws are different sizes, and if you were to put a long screw in a short screw hole, you can cause big damage to your phone. So it's nice and easy, just keep everything organized as you remove it. It can be a little bit fiddly, as you can see, getting the screws back in because they're so small, but just take your time, line everything up, put them back in slowly, and everything goes nice and slow. The last thing I'll do inside the phone is just put this little battery cover back on. It holds down the battery connection exactly the same way as I did the screen connection one. Now what you want to do when you line up the screen, you want to start at the very top of the phone, and there's little plastic clips that sort of clip the phone in place. You want to slide them underneath and then work your way down the sides of the phone all the way to the bottom. You want to make sure everything's pushed up as far as it can go, so you sort of slide in and up and then work your way down. I'll now test the phone, make sure everything's working, replace the two bottom screws on the phone, and that's it, job's done. If you do have any questions, please leave them in the comment section down below. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and if you are into this sort of thing, watching phone repairs, please consider subscribing to the channel. I will be starting a buying phones for profit section. I've already got my first couple of videos recorded where I purchase phones, fix them, sell them for profit. So if that's something you're interested in, give this channel a subscribe, hit the thumbs up button, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in the next video, and I hope everything went well for you all.